The governor has said for several months we would have a special session. I think getting the letter saying it would be after a certain date answers some questions that a lot of members had about when will it be. We know it will not be before August 15th, so folks can go ahead and make summer plans and vacation plans. And I think the governor is just trying to lay out we have to take care of this issue, and if you have ideas or thoughts or suggestions, let us hear from you. And it was an open invitation to all 100 House members and 38 senators, so I appreciated the governor doing that so that no member can say later, well, I wasn't given a chance to contribute. So that was the purpose of the letter, and to let us know it would be after, for most people, school starts back. But the telling thing was the governor laying out just how significant the problem is. The recommendations of at least an additional $700 million per year, $1.4 million per budget over what we did last year, which was an historic level that we put in last year. So it's not an easy solution. That's what I mentioned to the Northern Kentucky Chamber here. It is the biggest financial issue facing Kentucky, and I think the governor's just saying, hey, here's the problem, here's the facts. If you have ideas or thoughts, let me know. We're not going to do anything till after August 15th.
That's still a tight timeline, though.
It is a very tight timeline. And I have shared with the governor, and I think President Stivers has as well, that whenever we get the recommendations, there needs to be a period of time, whether that's 60 days, 90 days, or something, that the people of Kentucky are educated on the seriousness of the problem. We're all trying to do that now, but whatever these recommendations are from our auditing firm, that there's a period of time that we can all go around the state and say, here's what the experts say we need to do. There has to be buy-in from the public. The members of the General Assembly, the legislators, will not be inclined to make drastic changes and take significant steps if there's not public buy-in. And the governor has to lead on that, and I think he will. We've explained to him the need to do that. So it's still a tight timeline if you do it after August 15th, no question.
Now, without him going around the state and selling this plan, do you think it's still possible to get the votes to pass reforms like this?
Well, I think it's possible, but it makes it much more difficult. You can't do anything unless you have the political will of the members. A majority of the members have the political will to vote on whatever the recommendations are, which is why I think it's so important for the governor to sell the recommendations statewide over an extended period of time, build public support for whatever the recommendations may be, and that will translate to give the legislators a comfort level in voting for it. But it has to start with the governor building support for the recommendations and for the significant changes. Without that, it makes it extremely difficult, in my opinion, for the General Assembly to take action.
Now, you talked about here today just how significant the pension crisis is. Obviously, We've been talking about this for a long time, but you're right, a lot of people still don't understand the magnitude of this.
They do not.
So, but what kind of reforms do you guys expect to have to vote on? Are we going to make some significant changes to the systems? What do you expect to have to do with this?
Well, I'm not really sure, and we really haven't had a lot of discussion because we're putting so much credibility, if you will, to this audit company that's doing the performance audit, and we're trying not to say anything publicly until they've had an opportunity to say, here's our written recommendations. And then once we get those recommendations, then we have to draft the legislation. And my experience is that will not be easy in and of itself. So when we get the recommendations, then we have to draft the legislation. At the same time, we're trying to educate the public and get a comfort level with the legislators to be able to take a vote on it. And that's tough to do on any issue, and it's really going to be tough to do on an issue where there's the financial implications that we see in the pension system.
Now, what do you think we're going to see out of tax reform? We talk a lot about maybe lowering the income tax, maybe bumping up the sales tax, or getting rid of some of the exemptions. Are those still the things that we're talking about when it comes to tax reform?
You have to talk broad-based, and a broad-based picture would be to pass on to a consumption-based tax system closing loopholes or existing exemptions or 400 or so exemptions, see which one of those or all of those that can be closed, and where does that leave you financially? If you only close half the exemptions, what does that gain you? If you close all of them, what does that gain you? If you go to an increased consumption-based tax, sales tax increase, what does that do? And then do you make corresponding tax cuts individual income? So there's so many components to that, and I think it's been tougher for those that are working on it than maybe they anticipated. That's why we don't have a solid plan that's been released publicly yet. So we're going to wait, see what that is, and then go from there.